So this is how many meatballs the double batch made. So I always make a double batch just because these are really good for meal prep. They're beautiful and crispy and juicy. Hey my friends, today I'm going to show you how to make most delicious and easy bacon Parmesan meatballs, but this recipe is very flexible and versatile, so feel free to change and switch up the ingredients as you'd like. I know a lot of you guys are strict carnivore, which I am not anymore, but if you are, then just leave out the garlic and onion or any spices. All of that is totally up to you, totally optional, and they're going to turn out amazing however you make them because they're meatballs and they're delicious. These are also gluten-free, low-carb, keto, ketovore. They fit in with a lot of different diet styles. I love making them because it's just nice to have in the fridge when you're having a busy day. You just throw them in the air fryer and you've got a delicious meal ready to go. I will also link everything that I use in the description down below, any of the tools or cooking utensils that I use. So let's go ahead and jump into the recipe. So I have all the ingredients that you'll need for your meatballs listed on the screen here, and I'm just starting out by chopping up the bacon into bite-sized pieces. You'll leave it raw and uncooked. I actually found this bacon, this pasteurized bacon, in like a bacon ends form, so I use that for the meatballs because it's not as expensive. And now I'm chopping up the onions and peeling the cloves of garlic. Like I said, this is an optional step, but I really like the taste of having those in the meatballs, and I do really well with it now. So I am going to just chop these up in the food processor, and then I'll add it to the mixer in just a little bit here. Now I'm going to grate the Parmesan cheese. I found this big block of Parmesan at Costco for a really good deal, and I prefer to use the block instead of the pre-grated stuff because it doesn't have any additives in it, but you can absolutely use the pre-grated stuff. It'll work great for this recipe. I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the most difficult part of the recipe because grating Parmesan is not an easy thing to do. Now I'm going to combine all the ingredients in a big bowl. I'm using my KitchenAid to mix it all up. I've got 2 pounds of ground beef, and then I'm going to add in my pork panko crumbs. I usually like to use pasture-raised pork, but we're not aiming for perfection here, so I'm just using the store-bought pork rinds, which is just one ingredient, and then I'm adding in the onions and garlic and the grated Parmesan cheese, and then I'm going to add in the bacon bits, still uncooked. Now I'm adding in 2 eggs. I think these eggs are the type from the grocery store where they dye the yolks somehow to be unnaturally orange. We usually don't use those, but it's what we had. So yeah, now I'm putting in the red mint salt as well as the black pepper, which is optional, but I think it adds a nice flavor. So I like mixing up the ingredients in my KitchenAid. It just makes it a lot easier. But if you don't have one, then just you can do it with your hands, with or without gloves. Because I doubled the recipe, sometimes it can kind of overflow if you don't have a big KitchenAid bowl. That has happened to me before, so just go really slow with it in the beginning, and it shouldn't take long for all the ingredients to mix together well. Hopefully this will not spray over. I'll go really slow. Okay. I think we're in the clear, but as you can see, it forms together really nicely, really quick. Once all your ingredients are mixed together thoroughly, then get out a baking sheet and line it with parchment paper. I like to use an ice cream scoop to form the meatballs. It makes it so all the meatballs are really even size and consistent size. But if you don't have one, then just go ahead and use your hands to form the meatballs and line them out on the baking sheet like this. So this is how many meatballs the double batch made. So I always make a double batch just because these are really good for meal prep, quick, easy. Throw it in the air fryer and have it ready. I also like putting it in these glass baking dishes because they have lids on them, and I can just put it in the fridge and eat them over a couple of days. You can freeze these as well if you want. I don't often do it because I usually eat them in plenty of time, but if you did want to make a really big batch, you could freeze them, like flash freeze them on a tray like this, and then just put them into a bag and reheat them in the air fryer. To cook your meatballs, set your air fryer to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and cook for about 10 minutes. That timing could vary depending on the size of your meatballs and your air fryer, so just keep an eye on them and take them out when they look really nice and golden and crispy. Some of you have asked what type of air fryer I have, so it's a glass air fryer, which is pretty cool, and it's made by a brand called Frater. I'll put a discount code in the description. So this is what the finished product looks like for the meatballs. They're beautiful and crispy and juicy, and yeah, you're gonna love them. So that's all there is to it. These air fryer meatballs are super easy and quick to make, and like I said, I like to double the recipe. I'll put the ingredient list for both a single batch and a double batch, and if you're feeling adventurous, you could do a triple or a quadruple batch and meal prep them and freeze them. I've had times where I have literally eaten these meatballs for every single meal for 2 days, and I don't get sick of them. They're delicious, they're crispy, full of lots of good protein and fats, and I think they would be great for kids too as well. Obviously I don't have any, so I can't attest to that, but I assume that they would be. So much flavor. Just as a side note for this recipe, I used a blend of beef and pork, and I saw on the packaging that it was 65% protein and 35% fat, and so these fall apart a little bit more than if I used like an 80-20 ground beef. So just play around with it, see what you like best. You could use any type of ground meat. You could use bison, you could use an organ blend. I've done that, and it's a nice way to disguise the flavor of the organs. You could use elk, venison, like any type of ground meat that you want, and it will work out well. And if you don't have an air fryer, then you could do this in the oven on convection. It might need a little bit more cooking time, so just experiment with it and see what works. But yeah, I will link anything that I used in the video down below in the description in case you're interested for that, and let me know in the comments what other types of recipes you'd like to see. I'm hoping that I will be posting on YouTube a lot more frequently here soon. I know I've never been super consistent with it, but I do post a lot on Instagram, so if you want to follow along my journey more closely, then I typically am posting almost every day there. But I do love YouTube because the long form content often feels less rushed and kind of a better way to connect and have time to do so. But anyways, I hope you are all doing well, and I will look forward to seeing you in another video, hopefully very soon.